Imagine this. You write a single word onto a dried bay leaf. A word you've never said aloud, but it's followed you in every deal that fell through. Every time you held back, every almost that never became real. Then you light it. It burns fast, too fast, and you're left with only salt. But the air feels different, like something just let go of you. You did the ritual. You placed the salt. You followed everything, but the flow never came. You tried again and again, but something still felt stuck. Not cursed, just paused, like a door inside you wouldn't open. And maybe, just maybe, it wasn't the salt's fault. In energy work, we talk about space, but not enough about what lingers inside us. The deals that collapsed, the promises that went unspoken, the part of us that still loops back to what could have been instead of what's coming. That's where this ritual enters. Not just salt, but bay leaf, a messenger, and fire the only force that doesn't hold, it transforms. Before we begin, if you feel something stir inside you, a memory, a tension, a question you didn't know you had, stay with it. Let the ritual speak first, then speak back. And if anything feels unclear, or you're not sure how it fits your space, your energy, your story, ask. Leave a comment. I read them. I answer what I can. Because sometimes, the real release begins with a question. You did everything right. Placed the salt. Chose the wealth corner. Cleansed it. Whispered to it. Waited. But the money didn't come. And you started to wonder, is it me? What if I told you? It's not the placement that's wrong. It's the energy that's still looping. Not around your home, but inside you. Because here's the truth most people never say. Salt doesn't choose what it holds. It just absorbs. Silently, completely. And if the energy around it is carrying fear, uncertainty, memories that still ache, then that's what it holds. You can place it in your wealth corner. You can light a candle beside it. But if your thoughts still whisper, I always lose what I earn, or what if it happens again? The salt listens to that. It's like writing an intention in invisible ink, but soaking the paper in regret. It doesn't matter how sacred the ritual is, if you're still carrying the voice of someone who said, you're not meant for more, or worse if that voice is yours. And no bowl of salt can transmute what you haven't acknowledged until you name it. The salt can't release it. It just holds, like a vessel waiting for you to finally say, this no longer belongs to me. Science has a name for this. It's called emotional memory encoding. Your body doesn't just remember what happened. It replays it, quietly, over and over, without you noticing. A scent, a word, even a number in your bank account can trigger that loop. And in that moment, your breath shortens, your heartbeat shifts, your energy drops. You're back in the fear, back in the shame, back in the not enough. Now imagine placing salt in your wealth corner, while still vibrating with that frequency. What will the salt absorb? Not the intention you whispered, but the emotion you didn't. And here's the thing most people miss. Energy is loyal to patterns. If your pattern is unresolved pain, then your chi will loop in that same shape until something breaks it. That's why The ritual must go deeper. Not just placement, not just form, but fire to shift the pattern, and intention to name what the salt alone can't reach. I once knew a woman, let's call her Rachel. She kept a bowl of salt near her front door. It was beautiful, a little ceramic dish with dried flowers and clear quartz tucked in. She cleaned it weekly, replaced the salt every full moon, whispered to it like it was sacred. But every time she talked about money, her voice cracked, not from lack, but from a kind of tired fear. You only carry when you've tried everything and still felt unseen. One night, she told me something she hadn't told anyone. She had loaned her brother a large sum of money. Years ago, he never paid her back, never even said thank you. And she never asked, because she didn't want to seem greedy. She'd buried the moment, but it never left. It stayed in her body and in her salt. When she finally named it, not out loud, but in writing, something shifted. She didn't ask for the money back. She didn't need to. But her next 2 clients paid in full, without reminders, without resistance. It was as if the salt finally knew what to release. Salt is powerful, yes, but if your inner space is cluttered with unresolved energy, it won't work, because salt can only work with what you're ready to let go of. And to let go, you need something ancient, something that burns what can't be cleaned. Let me show you. The leaf that carries your intention into fire. Not every plant can carry your energy. Some just grow. Some just decorate. But this one was born to deliver messages to fire. You've probably seen bay leaf in soups or tucked into rituals. But in ancient times, it wasn't seasoning. It was symbol. People used it to write what they couldn't say, burned it, and let the smoke carry their words to something higher. Bay leaf isn't just a leaf. It's a transmitter, a carrier, a vessel designed by nature to take energy upward. Thousands of years ago, people didn't have journals. They had fire and leaves. They would write what couldn't be spoken, a fear, a regret, a wish, onto a bay leaf. Then burn it and let the smoke carry it to the wind, to the sky, to whatever higher force they trusted. But this wasn't symbolic. It was energetic. Bay leaf has something most plants don't. Volatile oils stored power, waiting to be released. When fire touches it, the leaf doesn't just burn. It bursts. It rises. It carries. And that's why it matters. Because when you write something onto a bay leaf, you're not just making a list. You're preparing it for departure. You're saying, this doesn't belong inside me anymore. And as it burns, the energy you've trapped inside, in silence, in shame, in secret, finally gets a way out. But it doesn't vanish, because here's where the salt comes in. Salt receives. It holds what fire transforms. The ash, the smoke, the message now emptied of its weight. So the bay leaf sends it. Fire clears it. Salt grounds it. It's a cycle. And when done with intention, it becomes a ritual of release and return. There's a reason why your body reacts. When you burn a bay leaf, it's not just pretty smoke. It's chemistry, and it's ancient. Bay leaves are rich in natural compounds, like cineol, eugenol, and linalool. These are volatile oils, meaning when they're touched by fire, they evaporate instantly into the air. But here's where it gets fascinating. These molecules don't just rise. They interact with your brain. Studies show that when these compounds enter the air and your lungs, they can trigger alpha brainwave activity. That's the same state your mind enters during meditation. Calm, clear, receptive. Your breath deepens. Your body relaxes. And, most importantly, your emotional resistance softens. Because when you're stuck in a memory, or locked in fear around money, your nervous system holds tight. You don't just think the fear. You become it. But when you burn a bay leaf, and that scent hits you, something shifts. Not in thought, but in frequency. It tells the body, you're safe to release now. And if you pair that moment with clear intention, written on the leaf, you're not just letting go, you're rewiring what your system believes about safety and worth and wealth. And in FengShui, this is why fire is more than warmth. It's movement. It transforms what's blocked into what flows. Bay leaf brings the intention. Fire lifts it. Salt seals it. This isn't superstition. It's energetic sequencing. And it works best when your body is part of the release. I didn't expect much the first time I tried this. Just a leaf. Just a lighter. Just a sentence I hadn't said out loud. I'd written, I don't trust money to stay. It wasn't even a big moment. Just something I'd whispered to myself. After yet another client canceled. A sentence I carried, but never unpacked. The leaf felt fragile in my hand, almost too light to matter. But when I lit it, it flared so quickly. I stepped back. The flame wasn't big, but it was certain, like it knew exactly what to do with the thing I couldn't hold anymore. And as the smoke rose, I didn't cry. I didn't feel power. I just felt space, like something that had been sitting right behind my ribs had finally exhaled. It didn't fix everything, but that week, I followed up with a lead. I'd been too afraid to message. They said yes, easily, like nothing had been stuck. And maybe it never was. Maybe I was, until I burned the leaf. Bay leaf isn't decoration. It's a messenger. When you give it your truth, even a small one, and burn it with intention, you give your energy away to rise, and your salt, a message to hold. And now that you know what the bay leaf can do, let me walk you through the ritual, word by word, step by step. It begins with writing. Some rituals don't ask for much. Just a leaf, a bowl of salt, a quiet space, and the courage to finally write down what's been circling inside you. But this isn't about journaling, or venting, or even letting go. This is about transmitting. You're not just releasing a thought, you're passing it through elements. Fire, air, salt, light. Each one plays a role. Each one holds a key. Step 1. Write. Take a dried bay leaf. Hold it. And write a sentence short, but real. Something that's been holding your wealth energy back. A fear. A regret. A belief that says, I'm not ready. This is your encoded message. Your imprint, made visible. Step 2. Burn. Light a white candle. Hold the leaf above the flame. Let it catch. Watch how quickly it burns. Don't rush. Just breathe. And when the flame rises, whisper, "I release what once held me. I return what once stayed behind." Step 3. Catch the ashes. Let the ashes fall into a bowl of white salt. Not too much, just enough to receive. Let them settle. Step 4. Stir. Use your finger, not a tool. Stir the salt 3 times, clockwise, with presence, with breath. Step 5. Place with light. Set the bowl in a space where light touches it. A windowsill, near your door, somewhere the morning sun can find it. Energetic layer. In FengShui, light activates what's been programmed. It awakens the new energy like sun over fresh snow. This ritual might look simple, but it's layered. Every movement, every element, is designed to shift something invisible, but very real. Let's break it down, not as superstition, but as energy mechanics. Writing the block. When you write a belief or memory onto a bay leaf, you're not just putting words down, you're externalizing energy. Neuroscience calls this symbolic substitution. The act of writing something down reduces its emotional charge by moving it out of the brain's limbic system and into conscious language. It's the first crack in the loop. You name it so it can stop circling. Burning the leaf. Fire is the only element that doesn't hold. It doesn't store, absorb, or reflect. It transforms. When you burn the leaf, you create a sudden release of heat and vapor. That triggers the autonomic nervous system to respond. You feel alert, but strangely calm. Your breath deepens. Your eyes follow the flame. And in that moment, you're no longer in the thought. You're in the act of release. That's why the statement, "you whisper," matters. It tells your subconscious, this is the shift, it's happening now. Salt receiving the ashes. Salt is crystalline, a perfect molecular lattice. It's known in physics as an ionic compound, which means it naturally absorbs and holds charge. This isn't symbolic, it's scientific. Salt traps trace particles of moisture, scent, carbon. It holds memory, chemically and energetically. So, when the ashes fall into salt, you're not just discarding them, you're grounding the energy that just left you, stirring with your finger. The human body conducts electricity. When you touch the salt, you complete the ritual loop. Your intention is now physically connected to what you've written, burned, and grounded. You're not watching a ritual. You've become part of it. Placing in light. Light is the final activator. It energizes what's been encoded in salt. In Feng Shui, sunlight is the purest form of active qi. By placing the bowl where sunlight touches it, you're aligning your release with the natural flow of yang energy, forward, bright, alive. So yes, it's simple. A leaf, a flame, a bowl of salt, but each part plays its role. And when they come together, your energy doesn't just shift, it remembers how to move again. I used to think this was superstition. Burning leaves, whispering to salt, it felt silly, like something you'd read in a storybook, not something you'd actually do in a modern life. But then I started noticing things in places far from here. In Vietnam, Thailand, Japan, people were doing rituals like this every single month, not as religion, but as rhythm. They'd write words on paper or leaves. They'd burn them with incense or flame. They'd catch the ashes in salt, and they'd place the bowl near the entrance of their homes, businesses, temples. It wasn't about gods. It was about clearing energy that felt stuck and choosing what to invite back in. They didn't explain it with science. They didn't need to, because what they trusted was the feeling after. The air felt lighter. Their chest felt clearer. The mood of the space shifted. And that's when I stopped asking, is this real? And started asking, is this working for me? This isn't a ritual you do to get rich. It's a ritual you do to clear what's been stopping your wealth from recognizing you. And the salt, it holds the echo, so your space doesn't have to. Now that the ritual is done, now, let's talk about what really changes. Not in the outside world, but in how energy starts to feel inside your body. Most people expect signs after a ritual, money arriving, messages from someone, something big. But that's not how energy whispers. The first shift is how your body responds to your own space. You won't notice it in your bank account. Not at first. You'll notice it in the moment you stop hesitating before saying yes to the thing you used to fear. You might not see fireworks. You might not feel powerful, but something shifts. Not in your mind, not in your wallet, but in how you move. You wake up and the air feels less heavy, not because anything changed outside, but because something inside finally exhaled. You walk past the corner where you placed the salt, and for the first time, you don't brace yourself for disappointment. You don't check your account with a tight chest. You don't reread that email 5 times before pressing send. You don't second-guess your yes or delay your no. You just move forward like you were always meant to. And you begin to notice. You ask for the payment you deserve without guilt. You speak your fees without shrinking. You follow up not with fear, but with clarity. You let go of what if it fails, because that voice is quieter now. It's not a thought. It's not an affirmation. It's a felt sense. Like standing in a room where a window has finally been opened. You didn't even realize how stale the air was until it left. When you release a belief that's been trapped in your body, your nervous system doesn't just notice, it reorganizes. That's not magic. That's neuroplasticity. Your body, for years, has been predicting outcomes based on past pain. It holds back your voice, because once asking for what you needed led to silence or shame. It freezes your decisions, because before, saying yes led to loss. So it learned, and it kept you in energetic hesitation, not out of weakness, but out of protection. But here's the turning point. When you perform a ritual with breath, movement, intention, you activate not just your thoughts, but your autonomic patterns. Your body starts coding a new response to an old trigger. That's why after the ritual, you may not feel healed, but you feel loosened. You take the call you used to avoid. You reply to the client faster. You write the pitch with less tightness in your throat. These are not coincidences. They're behavioral shifts rooted in released emotional weight. And physics supports this too. When your emotional charge shifts, your biofield, the electromagnetic field around your body, recalibrates. which means what you attract, how others feel around you, what opportunities notice you, they all subtly begin to change. Not because of law of attraction, because your system no longer emits hesitation. It emits clarity, and clarity moves money faster than any wish ever could. Someone once messaged me a few weeks after doing this ritual. She said, "Honestly, I didn't feel much. No release, no signs. Just this quiet sense of, that was simple." She went on with her life. Didn't think about it much. Until one random Tuesday, she caught herself doing something she hadn't done in months. Following up, with ease, no anxiety, no mental script rehearsed in her head. Just action. And it hit her, not like lightning, but like a soft light turning on in a room she didn't know was dark. She wrote again. I didn't even realize I was changing, until I noticed I wasn't hesitating anymore. That's how energy works sometimes. Not with fireworks, but with flow returning quietly to the places that once felt frozen. You don't have to feel the ritual. You just have to let it move through you. You won't wake up to a miracle, but you might wake up feeling a little less afraid to try again. You might speak without overthinking. You might move without dragging the past behind you. That's how you'll know. The ritual didn't just work. It landed. Because true flow doesn't rush in. It returns when you're no longer holding the door closed. So now that the salt has received and the fire has released, there's only one thing left to do. Speak the ending that lets the wealth energy finally stay. The leaf is gone, but the words you wrote, they didn't vanish. They rose. They moved. They found their way into the salt. And now, the salt remembers. So you don't have to. You don't need to repeat the ritual tomorrow. You just need to listen to the breath that's no longer held, to the silence that now feels calm, not heavy. And maybe, after this ritual, you'll feel lighter, clearer, more ready to act. But here's something worth whispering. This only moves when your trust moves with it. If you go through the motions, but hold on inside, it won't flow, because the shift doesn't start in the salt. It starts in what you're finally willing to release from the invisible places within you. So if something stirred in you today, a moment, a question, a breath you didn't know you were holding, you can write to me below. Ask, share. This is a space for movement. And if you feel ready for more rituals like this, for deeper ways to clear, and call in and keep the wealth you were always meant to hold, you know what to do. Stay with me. Subscribe. Let the next ritual find you when you're ready to receive it. Until then, keep your salt warm and your fire kind.